Akane orders Saito not to mention the word marriage, as she doesn't want to risk their classmates finding out about their marriage. He understands and agrees. Upon entering, Himari asks Akane what she was discussing with Saito, since it sounded like they were having an argument. Akane lies and says she just told him never to speak to her. Saito sits at his desk and Shisei approaches him. She immediately notices he's using a new shampoo and asks where he spent the night. Saito tries to lie, saying his father bought new shampoo, but Shisei also smells a girl's scent on him and bites his neck, revealing that she knows he got married. She confesses that she investigated his grandfather and discovered everything. Saito takes her to the hallway to talk. Shisei is upset that he didn't tell her about the marriage and is tempted to expose it. She demands payment for her silence. When Saito asks her price, she isn't sure yet, so she promises to tell him later, making it clear his life is now in her hands. Returning to the classroom, Akane scolds Saito for not putting things away after gym class. Fed up, Saito explains he spoke to the teacher and left the equipment out for the next class. Akane insists that a meteor could fall, canceling class, and during the evacuation, someone might trip over the things he left. Everyone sighs as they watch the argument. Himari explains their fights are famous, and classmates see them as a comical newlywed couple. Akane explodes, insisting they are not married. At home, Akane screams upon discovering the fridge full of juice. Saito explains it's concentrated vegetable juice packed with vitamins to keep them healthy. Alarmed, Akane asks if he doesn't want a balanced diet. Saito reveals a pantry stocked with instant noodles, describing them as fast, cheap, and delicious. Akane asks about protein. Saito suggests blending protein shakes with the vegetable juice, claiming it's the simplest cooking method. Akane refuses to eat such artificial and tasteless food. Saito shares that he worked hard to trick his taste buds into believing the meals tasted good. Akane realizes that if they keep eating like this, their marriage won't last, which she cannot allow. She prepares a homemade meal, convinced Saito will praise and thank her. Suspicious that she might have poisoned it, Saito tastes the meal cautiously. It reminds him of when his parents abandoned him and his grandfather adopted him. Akane asks for his opinion. Saito responds that it's passable. Angered, Akane tries to give the meal to stray dogs, but Saito fights for the plate and devours the food before she can take it. Furious, Akane curses him for eternity. In his mind, Saito admits it's the most satisfying meal he's ever had, and he's never been cursed for finishing his food before. The next morning, Akane tries to wake him. Saito, dreaming of Shiho, asks to sleep a bit longer and pulls Akane into bed beside him. Embarrassed, she wakes him with a shout. She scolds him for not washing the dishes after dinner. Saito suggests using other plates and promises to wash them when they're all dirty, but she forces him to wash them immediately. Later, she reprimands him for leaving trash in the bathroom. Saito proposes taking out the trash once a month, shocking Akane, who calls him a pig. He accuses her of being a clean freak and admits he dislikes being forced to bathe daily. Akane can't believe they're having this argument and weeps over who she's living with. In a serious tone, Saito asks her to leave him alone unless it's important. On the way to school, they wonder how differently they see things and question if they can continue living this way. After school, Saito relaxes by playing a zombie game in the living room. Akane asks him to lower the volume since she wants to study. Shocked by the violent game, she covers her eyes. He tries to explain the game's premise, but Akane doesn't care and demands he turn it off, believing such games make people violent criminals. Saito calls her prejudiced. When Akane tries to take the controller, they fight over the console until the doorbell rings. Akane lets go of the console, making Saito trip and disconnect it. She says the rest of his belongings have arrived and finds him depressed over losing his game. He goes to take a bath to relax after dealing with Akane. Opening the bathroom door, he discovers Akane using the tub. Saito quietly closes the door and considers leaving, but worries she might have fainted. He knocks and asks if she's okay. Receiving no response, he enters to check on her and finds her asleep. Knowing it's dangerous, he tries to wake her. Dreaming, Akane orders Saito to sleep in the doghouse. Akane stumbles. Saito, worried she'll drown, tries to pull her out, but he trips, making Akane fall on top of him. She wakes up, accuses him of taking advantage, and chaos ensues. Akane pulls him out of the bathroom. Saito tries to explain what happened, but Akane is worried he might have seen too much something Saito can't deny, causing her anger to flare even more. Later, Akane prepares for bed while reflecting on the incident. Although embarrassed, she starts thinking that Saito was probably just trying to help. She goes to bed where Saito is silently reading. Lying next to him, she attempts to bring up the topic again, but Saito refuses to discuss it. Feeling sad and powerless, Akane falls asleep. The next day, Himari notices Akane's sadness and asks what's wrong. Akane bursts into tears, admitting T here is someone she doesn't get along with but wishes she could. Himari quickly realizes Akane is talking about Saito. Akane immediately denies it, but Himari points out how Saito has caught her attention since their first year. Akane insists she would never associate with him. Himari suggests giving that person a hug to build a connection. Akane dismisses the idea, saying it's impossible to hug that person. Himari then advises trying to understand them by talking. Akane knows this is easier for Himari, who is good with people and liked by everyone. Himari counters that this isn't true and says the key isn't winning others' respect, but respecting them first. Meanwhile, Saito is having lunch with Shiho, who notices her cousin looks downcast. Saito says he's tired of feeling exhausted and is ready to have another argument with his partner. Shiho suggests getting a divorce, but Saito knows that would make all his efforts to inherit the Hojo group pointless. Shiho then recommends getting along with Akane to avoid conflicts. Saito claims it's impossible since they're total opposites. Shiho remarks that humans are animals, so compatibility might be a challenge, but in his case, she believes it's just laziness. She advises finding a middle ground and trying to understand Akane's perspective. Saito agrees. Shiho then asks him to carry her in his arms. When Saito questions why, she says it melts any girl's heart. Returning home, Saito plans to talk with Akane, but finds her looking even angrier than usual. He decides to wait for a calmer moment, but Akane cuts him off, asking for a conversation. Thinking she's asking for a divorce, Saito is surprised when Akane says she wants to find a way to get along better and stay married. They sit at the table with cups of tea. Akane admits she dislikes him, but agrees they need to make things more manageable. Saito proposes setting ground rules to ease tensions and find a middle ground. Akane likes the idea and first addresses household chores, complaining that since their marriage, she's had to handle everything. Saito argues he prefers washing clothes and dishes after they've piled up. Akane counters that this invites pests, while Saito calls it part of nature. Akane explains it spreads germs and risks their health. Remembering Shiho's advice, Saito agrees to wash dishes right after using them. Akane asks if he has any requests and promises to listen. Saito asks for patience when they brush against each other in bed. Akane interprets this as ignoring his touch attempts, but Saito clarifies that the bed is so small he can barely move. Akane agrees as long as he doesn't touch her under her clothes. Akane then requests he play games with headphones and out of her sight. Eventually, they finalize their rules. Saito adds that relationships work better when both parties make an effort to show gratitude. Akane asks him to compliment her cooking, even if it's not exceptional. Saito questions whether he should do so regardless of the quality, and Akane insists since she puts great effort into it. Saito explains that calling her cooking mediocre was meant as a compliment, a concept Akane doesn't understand. Before bed, Akane recounts the situation to Himari over the phone, who congratulates her for taking the first steps. Hearing Saito approach, Akane ends the call. When Saito enters, he finds Akane lying in bed, looking embarrassed but giving him permission to touch her if he wants. Saito clarifies he only meant accidental contact. The next day, Saito returns home with Shiho, telling her that while things have improved, the war isn't over. Shiho suggests playing with Akane, but Saito calls her vulgar and asks for a favor. At home, Saito surprises Akane with a strawberry cake, her favorite. Shocked, Akane asks how he knew. Saito says he remembered it from her first-year essay, something even Akane had forgotten. He apologizes, confessing he has a talent for remembering useless information. Akane thanks him for the thoughtful gesture. As they sit down to eat, it's clear Akane put great effort into the meal. Saito tries it and admits it's delicious. Afterward, he washes the dishes, suspecting Akane has ulterior motives. She approaches and offers to help. Saito accuses her of being overly kind, frustrating Akane, who only wanted to lend a hand. Saito accepts her help and, for the first time, notices how pretty her smile is.